so that I can tell you as well that this meeting is being recorded. And if you need to verify or double check anything, in about a week, the recording will be up in the same place that you found the registration link. So just to let you know. We do have our Q&A feature open. So you hear information today. If there's questions, please put them in there. If they're basic questions, we may be able to give you a response. If it's something that requires a little bit of research, then we will get back to you. The questions also help us with any future webinar ideas, coming out with clarification documents, or maybe adding to some of the FAQs that we have. So we appreciate that. I'm going to steal a minute before I let Julia on and share my screen because I do want to provide some information about the webinar site itself. Charlie, are you seeing the webinar site?
Yes, stirring.
Perfect. Thank you. Just want to remind people where to find it. So when you go to, you can see the path here. It's the TEA homepage. You go under academics. From academics, it's special populations. And then within special populations, it's special education. And then you will see where there's a link to the newsletters as well as webinars. So I just want to remind people. And in addition to that reminder, I encourage you all to sign up for the newsletter, because the newsletter you'll receive in an email, and then it does get archived here. As you scroll down to the webinar site, this is what we had before, where it was the different days. We are changing, and next year we will have, starting in September, we will have webinars monthly. We will have 9 of them. So there are a few months where, based on the data from attendance, we won't be conducting. But what you'll have here is all of the links to registration starting in September all the way through August of 2026. You have the dates and the time. Starting in September, they're going to be from 2 to 3:30, so they're a half hour longer. And then about a week to maybe 5 days prior to the webinar, you should be able to pull up the agenda that will be hyperlinked here for you to be able to see what the presentations are. We are hoping that all of the people who are going to present to you will have slides and information into us that we'll be able to put here and accessible prior to the webinar for everyone who's attending. After the webinar, again, we will still be recording them, and the recording will be posted right where the registration link was. So once the video and recording is ready, this registration link will be replaced with a view link. So I just kind of wanted to give people a little bit of a heads up about that change. All righty. And so we do have one topic for you this afternoon. So Julia, I'm just going to turn it right over to you.
Perfect. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for this today. Give me just 1 second to share my slides and I'll get us going. Right. All right, and we're seeing them in presentation mode.
It is now. It looks perfect.
Amazing. Thank you. So this is just a real brief beginning of school year update from the non-public schools and high-cost fund programs team. I'm Julia Ross. I'm an education specialist on that team if we haven't met yet. So just real quick beginning of year updates specific to day programs. So for the 25-26 school year, we are continuing with the temporary flexibility that was in place for the 24-25 school years. So if you were part of that process a year ago and you're familiar with it, we're essentially continuing what was put in place at the beginning of last school year. But quick rundown, if you weren't part of that last year, or refresher if you were, beginning of last school year, 2024 rule change affected instructional setting coding for certain non-district day placement programs. So essentially, programs that used to be referred to as off-campus programs are now in rule referred to as non-district operated programs. And so last year we enacted some temporary flexibility, both in terms of instructional setting coding and funding, and that flexibility is continuing. So programs that were previously referred to as off-campus programs, and they're now non-district operated programs. So The main ones that we have placements in are Harris County Department of Ed, ABS East, ABS West. There's a couple 18 plus programs that this applies to as well. But essentially, those programs, LEAs can continue using an instructional setting code in the 90s or 80s in the case of a RF student who's in one of these placements. That option is going to be in place for LEAs for the 25-26 school year as well. And then on the funding side, those off-campus program placements are going to be funded as in years past. So any ABS East, ABS West placements would be continued to be entered in Apex as a non-public day placement, and then funded as a non-public day placement in high-cost funds. So essentially just a continuation of last year's flexibility. So again, just as far as what this will look like for school districts, they can continue to use those 90s codes in Apex for those specific day placements. It's real crucial that whatever the LEA has in their IEP should also be reflected in Apex. Those two codes should always match because that's how we pull state funding at the end of the year. All other non-public day placements, so anything basically not HCDE or one of those couple of 18 plus programs, so all of your traditional non-public day schools, those are still a 60. That will continue this school year. Nothing's changed there. Our public-private partnerships, the main example of that is SESI or Sierra School programs. We are continuing to not require a day application in Apex for this upcoming school year for those public-private partnerships. So those won't be entered as non-public day placements this coming school year. And they will be funded this year as in years past. So districts can continue entering an in-district high-cost fund application for those SESI or Sierra school placements, but they won't be entering a non-public day application. And it's important to keep in mind, so the student attendance accounting handbook was updated last year to reflect that change to non-district operated program and all of those definitional changes. So that the flexibility I'm talking about today won't be reflected in the student attendance accounting handbook. So please rely on this guidance versus the student attendance accounting handbook for now while our team is continuing that temporary flexibility. And how this information is being rolled out for the current school year, we have a non-public back to school newsletter that will be going out soon. Today's webinar, we also participated in another TEA webinar. Apex users, as well as all ESC special education representatives, are going to receive an email about these changes. If not by the end of this week, then early next week. And then our team's annual professional development workshop that typically takes place over the summer. This year, we've pushed it back to September 4th just to allow a few more weeks for more rule changes and everything with the legislation to be ironed out, just to make our information as up to date as possible. So this year it'll be September 4th. The registration link was set out through a few different channels, but feel free to drop me an email if you need it. It'll also be in that back to school newsletter that we're sending out shortly. And then also, just while we have you, a real quick rundown of some of the House Bill 2 implications as they apply to this program. Of course, it's a pretty far reaching, far-ranging implications for all of special ed. So of course there will be more information rolled out agency-wide as it's available. But some of the things that we do know right now are that Texas Education Code 29.008 was expanded. Previously, that rule only applied to non-public residential programming, but effective next school year, so 26-27, the definition has been expanded to add day placement programming. And that rule also includes an update to our non-public approval process. So previously, for a non-public program to be initially approved, a school district has had to initiate that process by contracting for services at a not yet approved program. And with this rule change rolling out next school year, so 26-27, TEA can also approve programs without a school district contract. So this would enable additional pathways for initial program approval of new programs prior to an LEA making a contract. This rule will also add rulemaking authorities. So specifically, it gives TEA the authority to set minimum standards for day and residential programs, including all programs as defined under 1094, non-public and non-district operated. So the rulemaking and minimum standards are part of that. And so throughout this school year, we'll be reaching out, we'll be informing districts and ESCs of stakeholder feedback opportunities. We want to make sure that the rulemaking that we do as part of these changes rolling out in the 2026-27 school year really reflects the needs of the field and the voices of the people, who are engaged in this work. So, if that interests you, stay tuned for opportunities to provide feedback on those changes. So yeah, that's about it from me. Our email address is npdayandres@tea.texas.gov if you have questions about anything you heard today. I'll stick around for a few in case there's anything in the Q&A that looks answerable, but otherwise, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Julia. The only question that did come up, and I went ahead and answered it, people were asking about the presentation. So I did tell them that the slide deck you showed today will be posted on the website along with the recording. And I know that you had referenced the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, and there's a hyperlink to the guidance that you were referencing. So as soon as that presentation is up, you all will have access to that link that Julia is referring to, the guidance that you all want to look at in addition to the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook for a little bit more of that clarification. So.
Exactly. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, that's it for today. Thank you. And it's good to know that you're going to want to be gathering some feedback throughout the this next grant year or school year. So please reach out to that email that's at the end of that presentation if you want to participate in that. So we thank you. I'm going to stop the recording and